Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honablew Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real. No, you cannot. Greetings and salutations, all my people out there in internet land. My name is William Honablew Jr., and I have the privilege and honor of serving as the host of the Black USA News morning show. How y'all doing this morning? I hope you all are doing wonderfully. I hope you had an amazing weekend and you're ready to get the week started, ready to get things done. Um, Today is April 11th, 2022. Today is National Marketing Appreciation Day. And I think that actually bodes really well for what we're doing today. The next stage after marketing is sales. What happens to a lot of people is that they get caught into the marketing. They want to have a whole lot of followers on social media. They want to have great websites. They want to have all of this great marketing material, great logos, and these type of assets. But they often forget about sales. They often forget that, hey, if nobody's buying this, what is the point? Hey, Jennifer, Rico, oh, everybody came out today. So if kind of going back, if you have great assets and gets people to go to your websites, gets people to go to your social media, but they're not buying anything, you're not going to be in business very long. I have one client that came to work with me. One of her issues was that she had 50,000 followers. 50,000, I think that was on Instagram, and like another 25 on Facebook. This is back in the day when they were separate. But she had less than 100 subscribers to her business. And so what her marketing and her graphic representation, all of her stuff was amazing, except it didn't get anybody to buy anything. And she almost lost her business with 50,000 followers, active followers. Like thousands of them were active and they checked in every day. But she didn't know how to get them from being aware of her business to actually giving her money. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But first and foremost, I need to make sure I give a big shout out to the super producer, Kyle Crazy Horse Morgan, and our assistant producer, Brandy Raymar. They are an amazing team to have to keep pushing the show to new heights and making sure that we're providing you the quality that you deserve. Real talk. Want to say also a big shout out to Donnie Glover. His show this morning, he had Gregory Branch, and they were talking about Dunbar High School and the impact that Dunbar High School and its alumni have not just had on business, not just on like the business of education and really helping step up graduation rates and things like that for Black students in Baltimore, but also have had impact on athletics, baseball, football, basketball, and on politics, on the military. It was really a great opportunity to remember that our high schools, our public high schools in urban cities and some of the disinvested communities, they produce incredible talent. And I think it's time, not even time, I think we should continue to remember that. So big up to Donnie for that. After my show today at noon Eastern Standard Time, you all can catch out Troy Rawlings. He's coming to you from the West Coast. So, it's 9 o'clock there for him. So at noon here, he has a wonderful guest. He always had, and every once in a while, he'll talk about relationships and it'll be really interesting, a little spicy. Speaking of relationships, want to big up to Erica Alston Buck and Tina Devereaux for the show Climbing Out. It airs on BlackUSA.news at 8:30 on Sundays. Their philosophy is date 'em all, sis. So that very entertaining and provides a really interesting perspective on some things I never thought about. And before we get on to this show, just want to say I had an opportunity again, didn't sit in, didn't engage, but I got a chance to listen in to the Dear Black Girl show on Saturday, where Zaria and I can't, wow, then her name is escaping me. Nadaria? Nadaria. How they were talking about the impact of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson has impacted them. And they really thought through like her election or her appointment really has an impact on their business. And even more so, it has an impact on how they see themselves and what they believe they are capable of. So that was wonderful. So if you all haven't checked out the Dear Black Girl show, make sure that you do. We have 7-day-a-week programming. A lot of our stuff is replayed. Make sure you like and subscribe our social media channels because we do a lot of replays. We do a lot of updates and things like that. We want to make sure that you stay engaged and you know what we're doing. Okay. So let's get into the conversation about sales. Let's see how there we go. All right, so today we're going to talk about business sales. One of the reasons that we're talking about this today, aside the fact that you all said you wanted it and Crazy Horse and Brandy said, let's do it. Aside from that, is that what I found is that there are a lot of entrepreneurs that come to my workshops that end up becoming clients, will use some of the resources on the Grinding Gang site, that they don't understand sales. What's more, sometimes it's not even about the understanding the intellectual part, it's that they are afraid. They don't know what to do. What do I do if they say this? Or how do I do this? And they're so concerned about what they don't know and that they don't make moves. On the other side, you have some people who don't even think through sales and just think they're naturally charming or whatever, and they'll show up. And those don't go well in many cases either. So what we're going to talk about is how do you put it together? How do you do this? How do you make sure that you get the money that your business needs? All right. So first, let me be clear about what I'm talking about. I'm talking about consultative sales. That's not like some of the other sales that you tend to think about. A lot of times we think about, those old stereotypes where you have somebody really pressuring you into like, you got to get this, you got to get this. I'm not talking about that. To be honest, I don't know how to do those sales. Those high pressure tactic sales, those don't fall into my wheelhouse, my set of skills. So that's not what we're going to be talking about. If you're looking to do those types of sales, you're probably going to need to find somebody who has more experience. That's not me. What we're going to talk about is the consultative sales. This is where your approach is to figure out what the client's needs are and how your product or service fits those needs. It really is about the fit. We're not trying to push a product or service. We're not trying to, oh, you need to get this, or trying to, we do try to upsell because that's our job, but we don't try to pressure. This style is more for individuals who are trying to develop relationships along the way, who are looking to do business with the same client over and over again, who are looking to create a situation where that client chooses them. Not that, they go to you because you're the only person around, but when they have options, they choose you because not only hopefully your service or product is good, but you have a relationship with them. So that's what that is. Like I said, working to find a match between the service and the client's needs. And the goal is to help the client, not just to get a sale. Now, that's another big thing that you need to take into consideration as you're moving into sales. Why are you doing it? Many of us are going into sales because we need money. That's how we make our business grow. But if you are going into the particular situation, specifically to get money out of the client, not to find a way to help them, not the way to find to build a relationship, not the way to meet their needs, just I need the money you have, this style or what I'm going over may not fit you well because you'll be gravitating between the pressure tactics and developing a relationship. If you need the money, well, we'll talk a little bit about that later, but one of the things I want to suggest is that think about how you're doing the business. And we're more than happy to talk to you about why you're in that situation and how to keep that situation from cropping up again. Sometimes emergencies happen, but even then, make sure you're trying to help the client. All right. I believe the maxim: if you take care of your customers, your customers will take care of you. I don't believe that in absolute value. I don't believe that my customers are going to sacrifice their all so that they can support me. But I do believe that if I take care of them, all other things being equal, they will take care of me. Sometimes that's not true. Don't get it twisted. I've gotten burnt on that, and I'm comfortable I would get burned in the future on that. But I win more often than I lose, and the wins that I have are deep relationships that I can count on over time. So again, what is your goal in your sales process? All right. One of the first things that I need to get off here. All right, see this one of the first things that you need to take into consideration is your business mindset. Sorry. Your business mindset is important, which is going to be different than your sales mindset. And we'll talk about that in a little while. Your business mindset shapes how you engage everything. It really shapes how you draw and how you do your business and things like that. So one of the first things in your business, when you think about your mindset, is figuring out which is more important, mission or money. Now, the great place is that if we could have a situation where mission and money were equally important and equally impactful on the business, that would be awesome. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the questions between mission and money are as trivial as, do I do 2-ply toilet paper versus 1-ply toilet paper? And sometimes they're so significant as, do we even keep the business going? And that's not just a money issue. There are some people who say that if we can't do business in a way that fits our mission, no matter how much money we get, we don't want to do the business. That's a legitimate and valid perspective. But the thing is that that is a decision. You have to make sure that you are comfortable with that decision. There are some people who I've seen that have run their business out of business because they wouldn't change from their mission. I've actually even seen nonprofit founders kicked out of out of the organizations they founded because the mission had evolved beyond them. So as you are thinking your business through and why you're doing this, really think through what is more important, mission and money, and be comfortable that that decision can change. There are some days where, for me, that mission is important. I've walked away from clients because their mission didn't align with the direction that I want to go. But there are some days where I've done things that I'm not that proud of for money. So it's up to you. But it's great to think about these things before you are actually confronted. No one cares about you, and that's okay. What I mean is that your clients come to you because you can meet their needs, not necessarily because you're a great person. Hopefully you are. Hopefully that bears into why they choose you, but making sure you understand the value of your needs and your personality versus what the client is really there for. You can be a great, wonderful individual, but if you work at McDonald's and I want a milkshake and your ice cream machine is broke, you can't meet my needs. I may enjoy coming to you. I may even decide, based on our relationship, that I'll order something else because I want to contribute. I'm sorry, that McDonald's example wasn't a great one, but I just wanted to get in a dig on the broken ice cream machine. My fault. Not even my fault. I'm comfortable with it. I thought about it. I'm good with that. But when you understand why they're there, you can focus on their needs and keep the commercial nature of your relationship going. When you make assumptions, that's okay. It's actually necessary. You don't actually know everything, but making sure that you understand the basis of your assumptions. For example, I've never been to London. However, I will be willing to argue with someone that people in London drive on the left side of the road. I've never been there. That is not information that I possess directly, but I would be willing to argue that. That's an assumption on my part. Now, it's a fact for other people who've been there, people who designed the road, the government there. It's a fact to them, but it's still an assumption on my part. Assumptions don't mean that you're wrong. Assumptions mean that you don't have any personal evidence to support the idea or the belief that you have. That's okay. That's how business works. But make sure that when you make an assumption or anything that you know, make sure you can identify the fact that supports it. So if I know that everybody drives on the left side in London, then I should be able to say, well, hey, my friend Quignon, who went to London, she told me that. I've seen movies and TV. There's been so much consistent information and jokes and things about it that I'm comfortable that it is a fact. So that's an assumption. If I'm planning to sell car parts in Europe or in London, then I need to make sure I have it designed for the left side, whatever that would look like. But that's an assumption I can use. Sometimes we make assumptions about people's motivations. That becomes a lot more suspect because that's what's happening in their head. How do you know what's happening in their head? Making sure that you set your business values, because you need to know what you stand for, because it will be challenged. If you don't think about it in advance, when it happens, you may do something that does not fit your character. Know who you are. This game, sales will change you because you spend so much of your time trying to figure out how to meet other people's needs. It will start to influence your decision making, or to start to influence how you see the world. So be careful to know who you are. Find an anchor point in your identity so that you don't just get pulled away from kind of your core identity. Understanding that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, or as a business leader, your job is to guess. You don't know these things. You've never been on Monday, April 11th before. You've never engaged many of the clients that you're doing. You've never taken on some of these tasks before. So they are new. You don't know what you're doing. And so you are going to be guessing. That's why it's important to know who you are. That's why it's important to set values. That's why it's important to understand mission and money, because you will be guessing. The more things you know about yourself, the more likely it is that you'll be able to make guesses that are in your best interest. You must fixate on your 168. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 168 hours in a week. Thing is that you'll never be able to get more time. It's going to be 24 hours a day, no matter what you do. The question becomes, what are you going to do with that 168? A lot of times there is this myth that entrepreneurs have that you should be able to get it all done. If it's your business, you should be able to do it all. Why? That's like saying the brain is in charge of my whole body, so my brain should be able to pump blood if my heart was gone. Again, that doesn't make sense. But somehow we believe entrepreneurs should be the end all be all. This is hard. When you only have 168 hours in a day, hours in a week, we need to focus on what do we do with those, and make sure that we start by reserving what we need for ourselves. That's our downtime. That's our sleep. That's the things that rejuvenate and replenish us. Because while we're talking about sales and getting money ain't worth it if it causes you your mind, your mental health, or your physical health. So the business algorithm is quite simple. What do I need to do to take money out of my pocket and put it, that's the inverse of the algorithm. That's the business algorithm is, what do I need to do to get my customers to take money out of their pocket and put it into mine? Everything else is about how we do that. How do I convince you that what I'm offering, it has enough value? How do I know whether you have enough money even to support what I'm offering? Those are the questions that we have to ask. Big shout out to Be More News, BMoreNews.com. Be More News is the brainchild of Donnie Glover, founder of BlackUSA.news. It has been one of the voices of the Baltimore community, the Black Baltimore community, for over 20 years. And just want to say a big shout out to them. When you start thinking about your sales mindset, there's a negative way to engage and a positive way to engage. And these are just some of the examples. Like as you're engaging sales, you may get people to say these things to you, and this is the way that you can respond. So if you have people that say it's too complicated, let them know that, well, let's look at it another way. You could break it down into chunks and move it on. It's a waste of money. The investment will be worth it. It is looking at those things. Where do you have your value? A lot of these are about how you get your mindset straight. The prospects won't go for it. Then I'll show them the value. It will never fly. I won't know until I try. It can't be done. It'll be a challenge. It's a waste of time. Think of the possibilities. You can't, I can. Most of you all out there have heard a lot of those things out of the negative category. And sometimes you didn't have the information on the right or even the feeling that you could, and you let them talk you out of it. Were they wrong? We don't know in many cases because you never even tried. That's what sales is. It's about the try. The reality is, and I had to tell one of my mentees this a little while ago, is that every time that you ask somebody for the business, that is a help to you, because if they say no, well, you have nothing to lose. At that point, ask them why not. Get some more information about what's the downside. What else would they be looking for? What are you missing? What are their needs? The more information you have, that no is now a repository, will add to the repository of research on how you do sales better. Think about that. This person told you, no, I don't want what you have to offer. And then you ask them, well, why not? Say, well, because you didn't mention that. Well, if all I had to do was mention that, boom, let me tell you about it. Well, they said, well, because your product doesn't have this or your service doesn't have this particular feature. Well, now that gives you information to go back and maybe develop your product or service more. So yes, there's going to be a lot of rejection, and a lot of the stuff on the left-hand side is value-based. Look at the words, it's too complicated. That suggests there's a level of complication that I'm willing to have. What you're doing goes too far. That's a value. It's a waste of money. No, that's a value. Waste, you see how that waste, that word is very value laden, and that's not what you're talking about. School might be a waste of money. I've taken classes that I didn't learn a damn thing in, but I also learned that I don't need to take those type of classes again. What I also learned for some of them was that we can figure out what's going on there. And so let me give an example. There was one workshop I went to where the person they charged like $50, $60 for a lot of information that I thought was pretty fundamental. It was a waste of my money, except that what I learned was that people are willing to pay $50 or $60 for a workshop that I thought was basic. So maybe I was in the wrong business. Hey, Shannon, good morning. Oh, good morning, Shonda. Everybody's here today. You know what? I just realized there's probably a lot more of you all on because I know spring break is happening a lot around here. So good morning to you all. So again, all of these things are about what you value. How do you value? How do you want things to progress? How do you feel? All right, now the steps in selling. Let me go back. Want to say a big shout out to Donnie Glover, the I Am Black Wall Street book. It is a really great piece of literature that really helps you understand not just that there was a Black Wall Street in Greenwood and Tulsa, Oklahoma, but also about the other Black Wall Streets around the country. And also how people got to Black Wall Street. And in my estimation, it provides a really good roadmap on how we can build some more Black Wall Streets in our current communities. All right, the steps for sales. There's about 7 of them. Well, there are 7 of them. People break these down into different areas or different kind of things. But the way that I look at it, the 7 steps are prospecting, making the original contact, qualifying, doing the presentation, addressing concerns, closing the sales, and getting referral. I'm going to go through each of these. I don't even know why I had that like high pitched thing just now. All right, I think this slide is good. All right, I'm back. So prospecting, that's the first step. Now it means that you're finding a potential buyer for what you're selling. Uh, Prospecting is one of the more difficult parts, and this is where we rely a lot on the marketing aspect. Remember, sales is the next stage in marketing, because marketing can get people interested. Marketing people lets people know about your business, they get them excited, but sales is what actually closes them and gets them to give you money. So the marketing we do hand in hand with prospecting, we do hand in hand with marketing. So you want to make sure that marketing has got somebody's attention, and then you can follow up right on what their attention is. So one of the things I tell you all about all the time is this guy, Lynn the Plumber, this company, Lynn the Plumber. I know about Lynn the Plumber because I'm sitting down watching a movie or watching a TV show, and my friend is like, oh, shh. And I'm like, what? It's a commercial. She's like, yeah, but look at the baby. He's a beautiful, chubby little baby. And I'm like, okay, but she loves babies. So we just, the commercial came and gone. So we continue watching, and then the commercial comes up again. And we have to stop and watch the little baby because it's so cute, the little baby. Now, Linda Plummer has clearly got her attention, but she doesn't have any plumbing needs. So what that means is that Linda Plummer needs to stay in her mind. Also, I don't even know if she remembers that it was a Linda Plummer commercial. The only reason I paid attention was because I was very impressed with how their marketing was like they targeted her specifically. So if they were able to get her attention, what were they able to do with that? So like I know Linda Plummer because I impressed with that whole marketing aspect, but I don't know if she would remember Linda Plummer when she has a plumbing need. Actually, I know for a fact when she had a plumbing need, she called me, and I have a plumber that I use, so I referred her to him. So Linda Plummer, that's a really great example because Linda Plummer got her attention, but wasn't able to keep it and then to sell her on their service. Great marketing, bad sales. All right. So finding the right buyer. Everybody is not your target customer. When I ask people, some of my clients, well, back in the day, I'm a lot better than this now, better than that now. But when I used to ask them, who's your target customer? And they would say, everybody is my customer. I would ask them for a larger retainer than other people because in my estimation, they weren't going to have money long. Because if you think everybody is your customer, that means you're just going to chase money wherever you see it. You're not going to build an enterprise. You'll just be hustling. And again, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. But I'm talking about consultative sales where we're building relationships. So the first step to the road of being a successful salesperson is the prospecting, is finding out who wants what you have. Why is it that your business fits their needs? And a lot of this has to do with you asking questions. So the first stage after you prospect, where you ask them qualifying questions and stuff like, well, after you find them, you make the first contact, and then you want to know a little bit more about them. Be brief and concise about who you are and what you offer. Because a lot of people that you're going to deal with, they may not have a lot of time to deal with you. This is a decision that they need to make. They may need to make the decision very quickly. So they need you to be brief and concise, but always be prepared to go deep. Okay, because there's nothing worse than sitting with a salesperson who gives you that brief overview or that high level overview, and then you ask them details about implementation, and they have no idea. So now I have to rely on somebody else in your organization to pull it through. So be brief and concise. Build rapport with gatekeepers, especially when you're doing business to business sales. Sometimes there's a gatekeeper. In my life back in the day, my life was a young lady you all know, Michelle Holcomb. If I would tell people off the break, if Michelle didn't put you on the calendar, you don't get to talk to me. Like, I got to ask Michelle. Well, what about coming to this event? Got to ask Michelle. Because Michelle was responsible for keeping my life going. You know what? I just realized I forgot to do something. I'll take care later. Michelle was responsible for keeping my life going, and I wasn't going to disrupt it by throwing like scheduling something and it disrupts anything else. So she was the gatekeeper, to the extent that people were bringing her gifts to get meetings with me. Not to do that. I wouldn't suggest that, but developing a rapport with the gatekeeper. I have a friend who does medical sales. She used to go every month with a small box of chocolates to this office, and eventually she got an appointment with the person who made the decision. The other thing is that she got information on how they made decisions that some of the other vendors didn't. So those relationships really do help. Pay attention to inflection and details. When I'm talking about inflection and details, like word choice. So like if their voice goes up or if they start looking away, make sure that you pay attention to that so that you know how to respond. A lot of sales, and we'll cover this a little while, but it's more art than science. It's not that if you say this, then they will do this. It really is about understanding and learning the person, and learning what they respond to, learning what's important to them, and learning how to engage them. That's what this really is. And so if you build if you pay attention to the details, the inflections in their voice, when they look away and those types of things, you'll be in a better position to really help them help understand, a better position to help them. And for you to understand what their true needs are and what their motivations are. Keep your energy up throughout the presentation. And it's hard because if you use a line or you say something to them that normally gets a lot of attention or whatever, and they're like, oh, okay, that doesn't feel so good, especially because you have these assumptions in your head and they didn't keep it up. But keep up the energy, because just like you're listening for inflections and looking at them, they're doing the same for you. So you need to be up on it. You need to make sure that you convey that you understand what's going on, and that this is the type of relationship that they're looking for. Talk to people, not at them. There are a lot of times where we are so excited about what we're supposed to do, excited about the sale, excited about it all, that we forget to talk to people. That it's a conversation, that it's a discussion. It becomes a presentation. I'm just going to tell you things, but that presentation is good, but make it a small part so that they can ask questions and that they can engage, because this is part of the rapport building process. Listen to the details. Make sure that you take notes. I've had people tell me, the last person who came in my office, they weren't taking notes, and I didn't feel like they were even really paying attention because they weren't taking notes. They had no idea what I was writing. Now, granted, I was taking notes on that particular meeting on what he was saying, but just the idea of me taking notes actually helped the sale. And that's the thing you got to remember, that this is about how people see you, about how people make their decisions. And shameless self-promotion, the Grinding Gang, my company, we do a really great job of helping you break down and understand your target market and really anchor into them so that you can be successful. So just FYI, you might want to holler at your boy. All right. After you make your first contact, hopefully in your prospecting, you've qualified them. The qualification comes from asking questions to see if there really is a match between what you're offering and what they need, the money and resources that they have, and what you're offering. It's just about finding that match. And that's the qualification. Oh, thank you, Kiara. That's the qualification process. Now, I'm talking about all of these things as individual steps, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes all of this stuff happens with a hot dog vendor. And I probably should explain that. A hot dog vendor versus building, a multi-million-dollar, multi-year project. With the hot dog vendor, the prospecting is you look around and figure out what areas you need to set up your shop, how many people that look like or seem like the people that would come and buy from you. The prospecting, I forgot about the steps myself. Let's go back through it. Because I want to use the hot dog vendor. Okay, so prospecting, the original contact, maybe when they walk up to the hot dog stand. The qualification is when you tell them the money and they tell you what they want. Presentation is you make it and you give it to them. Their concerns like, does this have hots on it? Nah. Closing the sales, like, all right, you exchange money, you exchange hot dogs, and then you tell them, hey, send your friends over. All 7 steps. But at the same time, you have those 7 steps when you're building a multi-million dollar property. It's just that those 7 steps aren't like a 3-minute hot dog exchange. It's maybe like a 20-year building project and development project. But it's still those same steps, because at the end of the day, you have to find people who are willing to buy your service and who need it. You need to figure out, you need to have contact with them, because that's another thing that a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize. You got to have contact with people. A lot of us want to do business without actually having to. I do. I don't want to have to talk to a lot of people, especially putting yourself out there where they just like, no, you can't. I don't want what you offer. I don't want that for myself. That does not make me feel good about me. But it's part of the game. It is accomplished by asking the right questions. Also, make sure you go to Edible Arrangements. I'm trying to make sure that y'all still see my sponsors, because I saw Edible Arrangements. You know, that makes me happy. Grapefruit along with Candy Coating. And I want to go back and make sure we shout out STEM City USA, Dr. Tyrone Taborn and his staff over there, making sure that we're out in the metaverse. What's up to all my people in the metaverse? And also a big up to Fosterpreneur. Erica Myers of Fosterpreneur has done an amazing job of developing a program that really supports alumni of the foster care system amazingly and helps them develop their entrepreneurial gifts. Let me get out of here. Y'all can't see this. All right, qualifying 2. Qualifying opens the door. You answer the question, it answers the questions, why should I listen to you? Because the customer has no real reason to listen to you, do they? Like, why? Who are you and why do they care? So as you're qualifying, that's part of the first thing. Like, why do they care about you? And what can you get from them? What is that business? What is that business engagement? How can that benefit them? All right, it also creates interest, piques the client's interest and builds your credibility. Offers a win-win way to proceed. This is what happens while you're going through the qualifying process. And a lot of this is the conversation. We also have some workshops and in our business coaching at the Grinding Gang, we teach you how to have these conversations with your prospects. We do mentorship and training on how you move forward. What do you say with specific customers? We also help you work through understanding your target customer so that you can craft your engagement to really help them really help you pick up them as clients, and also them understanding what your value is. You're able to sell the value of your service during the qualifying process, and it gets the prospect to share their needs, beliefs, and goals. You also, one of the big parts of this is that you get an opportunity to identify the obstacles to accomplishing their goals. So a lot of prospects, they come to you because they need something done. Like, they have a need, they can't do it themselves, and they need you to do it. Well, you also need to figure out what the obstacle for them getting it done. If they say we don't have enough time, you might be able to do that. If they say they don't have enough money, you may be able to do that as well, because you might be able to get volume discounts, so you have different pricing models. But again, it really is about this conversation. In the qualifying process, this is where the real relationship gets built. Then you do the presentation. And again, the presentation, I say presentation, but it's not really a formal thing sometimes. Again, with the hot dog vendor, it is, here's the hot dog. Is this what you wanted? Yes. Congratulations, here it is. The biggest issue for people in sales, I mentioned this earlier, is fear. They get so scared that the people will reject them. They get scared that they haven't prepared enough. It's scared. It's how many times have we been taught as we grow up that it's bad to be wrong? That's one of the things that's happening. We are taking a lot of these lessons that we have learned throughout life, and we're bringing them with us to business, and they don't serve us. So that fear of rejection, that fear of being wrong, that fear of bullying, that fear of being humiliated, those fears are what keeps us from being successful in many cases. And Shannon is right. Imposter syndrome is a killer. It will mess up all of your business activities because you will be capable. You will probably actually, I've seen people who are more capable than the people who are killing it in their industry. They are less than, but they are having greater success. Why? Because they have an unreasonable sense of self. Do you want to see how powerful that is? Look at Donald Trump. I despise him as a whole human being. I despise him on a spiritual level. However, he is an incredible exemplar what unabashed confidence can do. You know, a lot of people said, I wish I had the confidence of a mediocre white man, Donald Trump. That lack of fear took him literally to the White House. So for you, as you are preparing for your business sales and things like that, make sure that you do your research. The more you feel comfortable with the information, the more you feel comfortable with what you know, the more likely it is that you can get over that fear. Practice your presentation with your network. Now, depends on who your network is. If they are people who understand the business or if they understand the client, some people just love to do this to play. But find somebody who is very similar to your target customer or to your prospect and have a conversation with them. Tell them what you did well. Tell them what you didn't do well. Also, real talk, make sure that you record your presentation or your interview when you role play or whatever, you record it and then play it back for yourself. Look at yourself. If you are not comfortable watching yourself, that might also be part of the problem. Because if you're not comfortable watching yourself do it, then you will always be thinking, I can't say always, but many times you may be thinking like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like thinking about what you look like because you're not comfortable with what you look like. But that's a separate issue. And while this is a Monday, it's not Mental Health Monday. Have a positive attitude. Because if you don't believe you're worth it, if you don't believe that your service or product is worth it, why would I believe? I've had people who they apologize. Well, you know, I know it would be better if our product had this, but it doesn't. And before they started saying the limitations on their product or their service, it was like, well, I mean, I was kind of into it, but now that you bring that up, I don't know. I don't know if I want that. But that's because they didn't have a positive attitude. Again, not suggesting that you lie to anybody, that you deceive them, but you let them know if you are great, if what you're offering is great, let them know, be proud of it, be excited about it. Why wouldn't you be? Think through some of the objections. This is where the practice and role play comes in, because many times we create businesses and services to meet needs, and we don't really think about some of the objections to those. So we're not prepared. And then we start thinking about the objections on the fly or going over them in our head while we're talking, and then we get nervous. Think about the objections beforehand. Think about your answers to the objections beforehand and be prepared. A lot of this is really about, again, your mindset, what's happening inside your head. Define and accept the worst thing that can happen. In most cases, the worst things that can happen is that you won't get the business. But here's the thing to remember. The business wasn't yours to begin with. You were trying to get the business. You were trying to convince the customer that they should do business with you. That's what you were doing. So that's a totally different way of behaving. That's a totally different set of circumstances because it's not yours to begin with. You're trying to earn the business. Even once they do business with you, they're still not your clients. They still have options. So making sure that you start thinking when you define the worst that can happen is that you don't do business with them. And that's not that bad. Hell, there's a lot of times, well, not a lot. There are actually a few business deals that I didn't get that I'm actually really happy that I didn't, because they would not have played. I don't even know how to say this without being exceptionally rude. Why am I worried about being rude right now? I tend not to be worried about it other times. They just weren't ready. I'll just leave it at that. They weren't ready. They weren't ready. Let's see, what else? Prepare for follow-up questions. There are a lot of people who they get the business, they get the roles, they're prepared, they've done an amazing job, and they're not prepared to close. You get to the end of it, and it's like, all right, I'm really interested. I love what you shared with me. What do I do now? I don't know. I don't know. And Shannon is right. The right client will gravitate towards you because it is about finding the fit. When you try to move and meet other people's needs like that, then we don't know how long you'll be able to fit it. That's what I'm saying. Like, business is such an art and not a science. So again, prepare for the follow-up questions and prepare for closing, because that's what you're here for. You're here to get the business. You're here to make the sale. And if you've done all that work and you're not prepared to close, did you really believe in yourself to begin with? One I figured, oh, you know what? I did it again. Darker than blue darker than blue grill. Make sure that you all go there. I tell you what, that, oh, was it the cowboy prime rib? Yeah, make sure y'all go and take care of that. I still haven't had my burger, but I'm gonna get it. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna have some food. It's gonna be awesome. Did we talk about, oh, we didn't even talk about the warrior lawyer, J. Wendell Gordon. They call him the warrior lawyer because he fights for his clients. Make sure you go out and Google J. Wendell Gordon. He'll put, if you have a criminal situation, he'll make sure that he takes good care of you. Share Space with Chap and Quita happens tonight, 7 p.m. Every Monday at 7 p.m. Actually, they do an amazing job of bringing community-based information to our larger Black USA News community. Love watching their show and working with them. All right, so kind of going through the presentation of how you should show up. These are some of the best practices, or at least the practices that I've seen work for many of my clients. Introduce yourself. Hi, my name is William Honablew Jr. I am the president of the Grinding Gang and the host of the Black USA News Morning Show. Explain why you're talking to them. I'd like to talk to you about a potential opportunity for the Grinding Gang to help support you and your business and really help you take it to the next level. Give them an overview of your service. The Grinding Gang is a community of business leaders and entrepreneurs who are really trying to help nascent stage businesses take their business to the next level. A lot of times businesses don't understand what to do with all the information that they get, with all of people's opinions and all of the articles. And what we do is help them get through all of the noise. We help them uncover their values, their mission, their vision, and help them identify the target customer that will help them get there. Overview of the service. Ask them, is there anything that they want you to cover in particular? I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the technical aspects of our service, but I want to find out from you, what is some of the hot button issues that you are looking to, or some of your goals that you're looking to have met? Boom. Giving them some background information about the cost of college. And this is specifically, I made this line for somebody out there, the cost of college or the cost of the product in general. If you are advertising a college, if you're advertising a scholarship search service, then you should give them information about that. If I'm talking about the Grinding Gang, I give them information about, well, the Grinding Gang is started 20 years ago in 1999 as my way to give back to the business community. I felt that there were a lot of small businesses who weren't getting the type of information they need, and most of the ones that needed it didn't have the budget for the people who could help them. I decided to fill in the gap. That's the background information on how the Grinding Gang got started. Then I give them information about me. Well, I've been doing business consulting since officially since about 1999. I started my first business when I was in the 11th grade. I started selling candy out of a book bag. I was doing really well. Some days I generate about $80 in profit a day. It was wonderful. But as I moved through my undergrad, law school, business school, I started realizing that there is a need that wasn't getting met, that people in my community weren't getting the same information that I was getting, and I want to fix that. That's the background information about the Grinding Gang and also on me. Ask them to fill out the college funding worksheet. That's, again, I did this for a scholarship search service business. And in my case, I'd ask them to go to my website and figure out the membership form. I'd ask them to actually fill out a customer inquiry survey that I have to begin with. Then ask them some questions and get them thinking about their situation. Why is it that you're in business? What is it that is going to happen once we finish our transaction? What's going to happen next? What is next for you? How are you going to use this? How is it going to change your circumstance? Because you want to make sure, I want to make sure that I understand all of their needs and I can follow them all the way through. And then I want to be able to explain the service and how it works. How long is it going to take? How much work is it going to be on their part? How much work is it going to be on your part? Hey, Erica. What is it going to do? How much technology, like all of these things are important for them to know. Let's see. Last thing, I want to say big up, well, not last thing on presentations, but also want to say big up to Breadcoin. Breadcoin does an awesome job of really helping individuals who are food insecure get access to food and still maintain their dignity. You'll be hearing a lot more about Breadcoin coming up. Explain the benefits of your service. Now, these are the things that you should practice. Again, you may not do all of these in a meeting or in one meeting, but make sure these are the things that you practice. Explain the benefits of your service. We help you figure that out as well. Like, are you saving people money? Are you making them money? And when you understand their goals, that's also more helpful. Let's see, what else? Ask them for questions and concerns. Answer and address all their questions and concerns directly. Now, a lot of this is about dealing with their objections as well. This presentation merges into addressing objections because it's, like I said, I'm describing them individually, but it happens rather fluidly in a conversation or in a relationship. Ask for more questions and concerns. If you can feel that they're holding something back, don't be rude, don't be off-putting necessarily, but try to find out what it is, because normally it's the thing that they're hiding that is going to make the difference in the deal. Ask the prospect if they're interested in the service, and then let them answer. Like, what are you interested in? Why do you need this? How will this change your outcomes? And again, the grinding gang can help you figure out what those questions are. Fill out the paperwork and get payment. There's a lot of times that people show up not prepared to get payment. Now that we've given the presentation and we've qualified, and look, the grinding gang is sponsoring this slide. Let's think through closing. Closing occurs when you and the customer agree on the terms. This is how much it's going to be. This is how long it's going to be. This is when we're going to deliver. This is what it's going to look like. All of those, that's closing. And it's when the client agrees to pay you money. That is the biggest time. That's when you know you're in the closing section, when it's time to start talking about money. For a lot of entrepreneurs, you don't necessarily know how you came up with the prices in the first place. You're kind of making this up as you go along. The problem with making it up as you go along is that you're not able to explain you making it up as you go along. So work to figure out the details on how your costing goes, on how much money the client has, or what the other market indicators are, or how you could explain the value. That becomes really important when you're working through this. Please understand, I said loose, you could still lose the sale at this point. This is still something that can happen. Not lose the sale, but you can still lose it. You may have gotten people excited and interested. Actually, we had Bianca from Brick Rose Exchange on Friday, and she talked about someone who gave her a call, talked about how the venue had let them down. And they were so excited, and how Bianca was going to save their situation to help them have the event, and then they didn't show up, didn't call either. So just because you've qualified them, just because you've all agreed on, you get to this point, make sure you get the money from them. Make sure that you get them to sign. One of the famous scenes in Jerry Maguire was he got the big, and I'm dating myself, I absolutely understand that, but he got the contract from the big athlete and got the agreement, but didn't sign a contract. And then they walked away. The other part is making sure that, again, it's more of an art than a science, and keep the customer calm and move at their pace, not yours, because it's their money you want. Referrals. Now, this is a place where a lot of business owners lose opportunity, a whole lot of opportunities. If you've done business with somebody and they're happy, let's ask them for other people you can make happy and who can give you money. Get them first to visualize who they could refer you to, like the faces of people. Because what that does is it makes sure that they understand and are close to those that you're going with. They're not just names on Facebook or something like that. Ask the customer to send the names to you while you're in their presence or while they're in your presence. If it's an email, if it's a text message, if it's in writing, have them do it there. If it's over phone, have them read it off and give it to you there, because my experience is that once people leave, you have to do a lot more work to get them to do it. Once they, I need to fix this typo. Once they give you a referral, ask qualifying questions about it. It's like, oh, so have they bought anything like this in the past? Do they do anything? Have they done business with businesses like mine? Do they have the money? Again, not to be intrusive, but to make sure that you're not going to waste their time. Ask for the email addresses and phone numbers so that you can have contact, and get them to make an electronic introduction if they can. And if they make an electronic introduction, ask them if they can't make the electronic introduction, ask them if you can use their name, and don't wait too long after making the referrals. So yeah, that's what we're talking about sales today. That's what I have. Actually, that's not all I have. I think I may have enough time to tell you all or give you an example of how we pull it all together. Let me share this video with you guys.
Okay, as you get ready to prepare to make the pitch, this is the time for you to practice. One of the ways that you can practice is by coming up with the alternative to your offering. So articulate what other options your potential customer may have that meet the wants that you have identified earlier. The alternative should also include doing nothing. A lot of times we look at our competition and we look at other alternatives, actual tangible things or services that they can get, but also realize that nothing is also an alternative. You have some people who need life-saving medicines, and like diabetic, they may need insulin to survive. But some of them still don't get it for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's cost, sometimes it's fear of the medication, sometimes it's a misunderstanding, but doing nothing is still an option for them. Now, once you understand that doing nothing is an option and you can run down all of the options that are available to them, you are in a much better position to position your business to meet their wants and also their needs. Articulate the reasons why the potential customer should select the alternative and how the alternatives meet their needs. Again, you are trying to look at this from their perspective. If it makes sense for them to use one of your competitors, really work that out. Why does it make sense? And then figure out what you can do to make your business or your offering make more sense. Be able to clearly explain the value that you add. Just being able to say, I can help you improve your business, or I can help you get more clients. Well, no, be able to be clear about it. I can help you get this many more clients. Together we can do this. We can save this much money. Give them as many details as you can. Make sure that you can deliver what you promise, but give them as many details as you can so they can make a truly informed decision. As you're preparing for the pitch, make sure you pull together your materials in a way that makes sense for the customer. You've done a lot of research on this potential customer. You understand how they think. You understand what they're looking for. You understand sometimes more about them than they understand about themselves. Make sure you lay that information out in a way that makes sense for them. There are some people that you need to start with price first, because they're waiting for the price and they're not listening to anything else that you say until you talk about price. Then you have some other people that want to know everything about it, the level of detail, how it works, the process or whatever. You need to make sure that you give them the presentation that makes sense for them. But again, it's about understanding who they are. Until you're writing your own checks, your opinion doesn't really matter now, does it? Make sure your ask is clear to the potential customer and the value proposition is one that they actually want. I've seen so many people not close sales because they didn't just ask for the business. What is it that you want? Do you want X number of shipments, or do you want to give them X hours of services for X amount of dollars? Make sure that you're very clear about the ask and all the things that the ask entails. The last thing is to make sure that you're prepared to adapt your materials, offer, and presentation to the customer's reasonable requests. And I cannot stress that this needs to be reasonable. A lot of times they say the customer is always right. That is not true. You need to make sure that you address your customer's needs, but if it doesn't work for your business, it doesn't work for the customer. You're not trying to bankrupt your business to make sure that the customer has what they need. You need to make sure that it's a win-win, it's beneficial to both parties.
There you go. Just wanted to share that with you. There's some more of those things on grindinggang.com. We really help you. Let me put this back up there. We really help you figure these types of things out and really take your business to the next level. Um, we're going to do some more stuff like this on and on and on and on and on and on and on, because I think it's important that as entrepreneurs, as we start investing in our community, that we understand what business is. So we're going to do some more business stuff tomorrow. We'll be black then. See you then.